A man threw the most beautiful party France had ever seen in 1661. 3 weeks later, that same man was arrested and thrown into prison forever. He died there 20 years later, alone and completely forgotten by the world outside. His crime was not murder or theft or treason against the crown of France. His crime was making the king of France feel small and deeply jealous inside. This is the true story of Nicolas Fouquet, and it holds a brutal lesson. Power does not care about your talent or your good intentions toward others at all. Power follows rules that most people never learn until it is far too late. Robert Greene wrote a book called The 48 Laws of Power in 1998. The book became a worldwide bestseller and changed how people think about real success. Some people call it evil, while others call it the honest truth about human nature. Either way, the laws inside this book are based on thousands of years of history. Kings, generals, con artists, and business tycoons all follow these same patterns throughout time. The first 5 laws alone can change how you see every interaction around you today. Law 1. Never outshine the master. Law 1 is simple, but deadly in its power to destroy careers and lives. Never outshine the master in any situation where someone holds power above your position. Nicolas Fouquet was the finance minister for the young King Louis XIV of France. He was brilliant at his job and became one of the richest men alive then. Fouquet decided to throw a massive party at his estate called Vauxhall in August. The invitation went out to all the important people in France, including the king himself. The party had the finest food that French chefs could possibly create for the guests. The entertainment included performances from the greatest artists and musicians in all of Europe. Fireworks exploded over perfect gardens that took years and fortunes to design and build. Fountains shot water into the night sky while guests walked through paths of wonder. King Louis XIV attended the party and watched everything unfold with a cold, hard expression. The king did not see a loyal servant celebrating his years of successful government service. He saw a threat standing before him and daring to have more than royalty deserved. Louis was only 22 years old and already paranoid about threats to his absolute power. Fouquet's obvious wealth and refined taste made the young king feel poor and inadequate inside. Every beautiful fountain reminded Louis that his own palaces were shabby compared to this place. Every delicious course of food whispered that Fouquet had stolen from the royal treasury somehow. 3 weeks after the party, royal guards arrived and arrested Fouquet on corruption charges. The charges were mostly invented or exaggerated, but that did not matter to anyone important. Fouquet spent the remaining years of his life rotting slowly in a dark prison cell. The king took Fouquet's architect, painter, and gardener to use for his own building projects. Louis used these same men to build Versailles, the most famous palace in all history. The lesson here is brutal, but real, and it happens in modern offices every day. Your boss wants you to succeed, but only up to a certain safe point. The moment you become a threat to their position, everything about the relationship will change. Smart people learn to make their masters feel brilliant while doing excellent work quietly underneath. They give credit away freely and never show off their full abilities too soon. Galileo understood this law perfectly and survived the dangerous politics of 17th century Italy safely. He flattered his wealthy patrons constantly in letters and made them feel like geniuses themselves. He named the moons of Jupiter after the powerful Medici family to win their protection. The Medicis felt honored and proud, so they protected Galileo from his many powerful enemies. Always make those above you feel comfortable and superior, even when you know the truth. Your time will come eventually, but you must survive long enough to reach that moment. Law 2. Never put too much trust in friends. Learn how to use enemies. Law 2 sounds cold and harsh, but history proves it correct over and over again. Never put too much trust in friends, and learn how to use enemies instead sometimes. Friends often become jealous because they already know your weaknesses and your secrets from before. They saw you before you became successful and sometimes cannot accept your new elevated position. Envy grows easily in the soil of close friendship, where comparison happens every single day. Michael of Byzantium learned this terrible lesson in the year 820 in Constantinople itself. He was the closest friend and ally of Emperor Leo V for many long years. Michael helped Leo rise to power and stood beside him through many difficult battles together. But Michael grew ambitious over time and started plotting to take the throne for himself. The emperor discovered the conspiracy through spies and had Michael arrested and sentenced to death. Friendship did not protect Michael because that same friendship was the source of his envy. He knew the emperor too well and began to believe he deserved the crown more. Enemies, on the other hand, have something important to prove when you give them a chance. They will work harder than any friend because they desperately need to earn your trust. Abraham Lincoln filled his cabinet with political rivals who had competed against him for president. William Seward despised Lincoln during the 1860 campaign and called him completely unqualified for office. Seward believed he was the superior man and should have won the nomination that year. Lincoln made Seward his Secretary of State anyway, and they became incredibly effective partners together. Seward worked harder than any loyal friend would have because he had something to prove. He needed to show Lincoln and the world that he was valuable and trustworthy now. Former enemies often become the most loyal allies because they have already experienced your strength. They know you can destroy them if necessary, and that knowledge keeps them honest always. Friends expect special treatment and become resentful when they do not receive it quickly enough. They feel entitled to rewards because of the relationship rather than because of their work. Keep your friends close for comfort, but find ways to turn enemies into useful tools. Law 3. Conceal your intentions. Law 3 teaches the power of mystery and keeping your true plans completely hidden always. Conceal your intentions so that no one can prepare a proper defense against your moves. Most people are open books because honesty feels good and natural to human beings generally. They share their goals and plans with everyone and wonder why those plans always fail. Smart operators keep their true objectives hidden behind false fronts and distractions at all times. Nina de L'Enclos was a famous and beautiful French courtesan in 17th century Paris. She was brilliant and witty, and many powerful men fell deeply in love with her. One young nobleman pursued her relentlessly for months, declaring his passionate love and devotion openly. He sent flowers every day and wrote poems that everyone in Paris heard about quickly. Nina rejected him every single time because his intentions were far too obvious and boring. She knew exactly what he wanted, so there was no mystery or excitement left over. The Marquis de Sèvigny wanted Nina to, but he chose to play a smarter game. He pretended to be completely uninterested in romance and only wanted intellectual conversation with her. He discussed philosophy and literature and never once mentioned his feelings or his desires aloud. Nina found him mysterious and deeply intriguing because she could not understand his true motives. The Marquis eventually won her heart because he kept his real intentions perfectly concealed throughout. Otto von Bismarck used this law brilliantly to unite Germany in the 19th century completely. He wanted war with Austria, but could not appear as the aggressor to other European nations. Starting a war openly would make Prussia look like the villain and invite foreign intervention. Bismarck sent diplomats with demands he knew Austria would refuse publicly and with great anger. He designed the demands specifically to humiliate Austria and force them into a defensive reaction. When Austria declared war first, Bismarck appeared to be the innocent victim defending his country. His true intention was always war, but he tricked the enemy into starting the fight. Prussia won that war quickly, and Bismarck took another step toward creating the German Empire. Use decoys and red herrings constantly to throw people off your real trail and objectives. Appear to want one thing openly while secretly working toward something else in the shadows. People cannot hit a target they cannot see clearly, so become invisible until you strike. Law 4. Always say less than necessary. Law 4 reveals the surprising power of silence and the real danger of talking too much. Always say less than necessary because truly powerful people rarely explain themselves to anyone around. The more you speak openly, the more common and ordinary you appear to everyone listening. Words reveal your weaknesses and insecurities and give enemies information to use against you later. Every sentence you speak is a potential weapon that can be turned around against you. Louis XIV was called the Sun King and ruled France for an incredible 72 years. He understood deeply that kings should speak rarely and only when absolutely necessary for power. His most famous response to any request was a simple four-word phrase only. "I shall see," the king would say, and then he would walk away silently. Those four simple words kept absolutely everyone guessing and gave Louis time to decide properly. No one knew whether "I shall see" meant yes or no or maybe sometime later. This constant uncertainty kept his courtiers anxious, nervous, and eager to please at all times. They would work harder and offer more because they desperately wanted a clear answer someday. Coriolanus was a legendary Roman general who won many important battles for Rome with great bravery. The citizens of Rome should have loved him for protecting the city from dangerous enemies. But Coriolanus could not keep his mouth shut when the common people angered him deeply. He insulted the citizens publicly and told them exactly what he thought about their complaints. He called them ungrateful and unworthy and demanded respect for his years of military service. His words got him banished from Rome forever, and he died in exile soon after. All his glorious military victories meant absolutely nothing because he could not control his tongue. Silence makes people nervous and uncomfortable because they naturally fill empty space with their fears. A person who talks too much loses respect quickly in any room or business meeting. People automatically assume that quiet people know something important that they are not sharing yet. Mystery and power go together naturally because unexplained actions create fascination and fear in others. Say less than you want to, and every word you speak will carry more weight. Law 5. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life. Law 5 addresses reputation and explains why it matters more than almost anything else you have. So much depends on reputation because your reputation arrives before you enter any room at all. Reputation is the cornerstone of all power and determines how people treat you immediately everywhere. A strong reputation can win battles before they even begin because enemies already fear you. A weak or damaged reputation invites constant attacks from everyone who thinks you are vulnerable now. Zhuge Liang was a brilliant military strategist in ancient China during the Three Kingdoms period. His reputation for cunning and clever tactics was known throughout every kingdom in the land. Enemy generals told stories about his impossible victories and his ability to predict every move. One day, Liang found himself caught in a small city with only 100 soldiers. An enemy army of 150,000 trained soldiers surrounded the walls and prepared to attack immediately. Liang could not possibly win a battle against such overwhelming numbers with his tiny force, so he decided to use his fearsome reputation as his only remaining weapon instead. He ordered the city gates open wide and had soldiers sweep the streets calmly outside. Then Liang himself sat on top of the city walls playing his lute peacefully. He looked completely relaxed and unconcerned about the massive army waiting just outside his gates. The enemy general knew that Liang was famous for clever traps and unexpected deadly ambushes. Seeing Liang so calm and confident, the general assumed a terrible trap waited inside somewhere. The massive army of 150,000 soldiers retreated without attacking because reputation defeated them completely that day. Liang won without fighting a single battle because his reputation did all the work alone. P.T. Barnum built his entire legendary career on creating and managing his public reputation carefully. He called himself the greatest showman on earth and made everyone believe it was true. Every scandal and controversy only made Barnum more famous and more talked about everywhere he went. He understood that almost any publicity is better than being forgotten and ignored by everyone. Bad press still keeps your name alive, while silence lets your reputation fade away forever. Your reputation is like a shadow that follows you everywhere and always gets there first. Build it carefully over many years, and it will open doors you cannot open alone. Destroy it even once, and you may spend a lifetime trying to rebuild it again. Attack the reputations of your enemies strategically because a damaged reputation makes them immediately vulnerable. Once people begin to doubt someone's character, everything that person does becomes suspicious and questionable. Guard your reputation with your life because real power cannot exist without it supporting everything. These 5 laws are just the beginning of the 48 laws that Robert Greene teaches readers. They may sound manipulative to some people, but they describe how power actually works historically. Nicolas Fouquet ignored Law 1 and died alone in a cold, dark prison cell forever. Michael of Byzantium trusted his friend too much and lost his head on Christmas Day. Coriolanus spoke too freely and threw away a lifetime of military glory in one moment. The men who failed to follow these laws fill the history books with tragic endings. The men who mastered these laws built empires and legacies that lasted for many generations. Power is a game with specific rules, and most people never learn those rules properly. The choice becomes simple: learn the rules yourself or become a victim of those who have. These laws are not instructions for being evil or manipulating innocent people for selfish gain. They are tools for understanding human nature so you can protect yourself from dangerous predators. The world is full of people who already use these laws against you every day. Knowing the rules gives you the power to recognize manipulation before it can destroy you. The next 5 laws go even deeper into the hidden mechanics of power and influence.